This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
The X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X-Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X-Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X-Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
And welcome back, everyone. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell, and 26 years later, we're still coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And if you'd like to find out anything about us, it's very simple. Just go to www.xzoneradiotv.com or on any of the social media sites, X-Zone Radio TV, now to find out about the programming that we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. www.xzbn.net. X-Zone Nation, my guest this hour is Meilena Hauslendale, and she has always had a great desire to help people. Nothing is more satisfying than seeing the light bulb go on in someone's head where they now understand a major puzzle of their lives. She feels it is a great privilege to be able to relay messages of hope and provide clarity and validate a person's instincts. Now, this is a quote from this young lady. "We are spiritual beings having a human experience, and we can be a bit awkward with ourselves at times and need a guiding light." How true. We can't always see the path in front of us. That's where people like myself come in and help. She has always had an intuitive gift as a child. Her intuition protected her and gave her the clear line of sight that she needed to survive. She was given select life experiences so that she would be able to help others in the future as she evolved as a person. She is able to combine her real-life experiences along with her intuitiveness in a unique way that allows her to emphasize and empathize with others on a particular level. Her website is livingonintuition.com. And Meilena, welcome to the X-Zone.
Thank you for having me today.
So great talking to you. Before we went on air, we were talking about where you are, and you're in Portland, Oregon, a beautiful part of the country.
Yes, I love it. It's really close to the ocean, so that's why it's nice to be.
Tell me, what was it? How did you deal with being an intuitive and having all these gifts as a young child, and how has it helped you growing up to be the person you are today?
It was really challenging at first because a lot of people, as soon as they notice anybody having gifts, they automatically think that it takes a negative connotation. So that was very challenging when I started seeing people's reactions to like either predictions that I made or things that I would see without even having any prior knowledge. It made me kind of hide my gifts, and I hid them for many years around people, especially around family. I come from a Catholic background, so automatically their way of thinking was that it was evil, when it actually it's just something that everyone has. So we all have an intuition, just some of us use it on different levels, and we have different strengths and abilities that go along with that.
Now, growing up, it must have been hard for you. How did your friends assimilate, or how did your friends work out the differences that you had this ability and that you were kind of a person who was on a set path? How did they How do they cope?
It's a very isolating experience because as soon as people start to realize that you see things in a different way than they do, it's scary for them. So they end up like steering clear from you. Like I remember being like just in kindergarten alone, and I would be able to see the kids' auras around them, and I'd go home and tell my mother, like, I'm seeing these colors around people, and
Right.
she's like, we have to go get your eyes checked. And so it was different. I was realizing that I was seeing things in a different way, and I didn't have anyone that I could have validate the claims that I was having, and
Right.
validate some of the things that I was seeing. So I thought that, I was like, wait a second, people think this is weird. So I would just kind of keep it hush hush, but I was able to, like, relatives would have something really crazy go on. I had this one aunt come in. She was, crying, and somebody I didn't even really know that well. And I was like, your husband cheated on you.
Ooh.
And she was just like, how do you know? Here I am. I'm like, I'm only like 7 years old. And she's like, how does this person know this? And so again, they just kind of steer clear. And that person actually, stayed away from me for many, many years. It's not something that's commonly validated. And so it does frighten people. And that's what I hope to, when, just kind of, I call it coming out of my psychic closet. I hope that helps people to realize that it is something that's real. It does exist. And we have these premonitions, and we have these experiences for a reason, and we can use them for our benefit and other people's benefit as well.
All right, please stand by, Meilena. We have to take our break, and we'll be back on the other side, X-Zone Nation. And if you'd like to get more information on Meilena, her website is livingonintuition.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell. We'll be back. Don't go away.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Exonation, my guest this hour is Meilena Hauslendale, and her website is www.livingonintuition.com. When did you start doing readings professionally, Meilena?
I came out of my psychic closet probably about 5 years ago that I started doing them. I just didn't realize that I could do it as a profession. I was hiding, trying to prevent people from even knowing that I was, psychic, and just I was trying to act normal all this time. But finally I started getting more and more messages, and it was just getting to the point where I couldn't deny it anymore. I just started getting hit head on from all different directions,
Wow.
whether it was my regular work or whether it was people coming at me like, you're psychic, you need to start doing readings, So I really took the risk and embarked on doing it. And the way I started doing it was like, I got to make sure that, what I'm seeing is real. And, I started doing lots of free readings for people. I just put myself out there, and I was doing probably over about 200 readings a month, just because I wanted to make sure that what I was providing people was actually valid. And so I would have them, give feedback. And, I took a really scientific approach to this gift. I didn't believe in psychics. And, I was taught not to believe in psychics. I was always taught to think that psychics are scams, and that and yes, there really is. There's both good and bad.
Of course, there's good and bad in everything.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. And, the word psychic was too close to psychotic, so I was very, very scared of even using that term. And I was like, I can't even say that. But yeah, I started putting myself out there, and it was a really vulnerable place to be, because it was something that I had hid for so long in my life. But once I started doing it, I really couldn't stop. And, I'm really a basis of a personal development author and a self-help author and an artist. I didn't put myself out there as being a psychic medium at all, So once I started doing this, I just had like an overwhelming response from people, and it was what I was supposed to do. It just fell right into place, and coming out was exactly what I was meant to embark on.
You said psychotic is very close to psychic. A very good friend of mine here in Ontario, who lives just up the street, well, not up the street, but up the highway, about 35 minutes from here, is Dan Valkos, and he is Canada's most psychotic psychic. And he's one heck of a guy. He gives college courses in the paranormal. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Dan, for nearly 30 years now. So this is why I was chuckling when you said, psychotic is close to psychic. But let me ask you this. Anyone else in your family gifted like you?
Not in my immediate family, but I was really blessed with meeting my husband. I used to live, I'm from the East Coast, I'm from Pennsylvania, and I was getting intuitive messages back when I was in my 20s that my husband was not in that area and that I was going to have to go travel. So I was guided to California, and then from California, after I was there for like about 6 months, I just was sporadically, I was like, you know what, you have to go to Seattle. And I moved there, never been there in my life, and I knew my husband was going to be there. And that's exactly where I met my husband, and my husband is gifted as well. So wow. It was amazing to meet someone on that level, and to be able to have someone that kind of is really aligned with you vibrationally and with your gifts, that saw things, and I didn't have to hide. I could actually be myself around them, which was amazing.
That is wonderful, because you have a built-in support system.
Yes. And all of our children are the same way. So we, one thing I, mentioned before is like really important for me is validating people. And we do the same thing with our children. We have 4 boys, and we validate what they see. If they see a spirit, we validate it. We talk about it. We all see the same thing. So it's really, it's great to have that support system, and it's great to let them know that there's nothing wrong with them for what they see.
Yeah. Well, I personally believe that there are so many people out there who have the gift, but because of society, they've been suppressed.
Yep, exactly.
And that's so wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody does have an intuition, and you can hone in on it. We're trained environmentally and through, our immediate family and whoever we grew up with. We're trained to forget those things. We're trained to suppress that. And when it starts to awaken, when you're actually allowed to use your skills the way that you were intended to use them, amazing things happen.
That's right.
It's like everything just awakens in you, and you see the world. You start to see the bigger picture for things, and I think that's really important.
How do you do your readings, Meilena?
When I started out doing them, even when I was 12, I was really fascinated with tarot cards, and that's when I started doing like readings for family members. I wasn't a paid person at that time. But I would start doing my predictions, and they would come true. I actually predicted my own parents' divorce. When I was doing readings for them separately, and so it was pretty wild seeing different things actually manifest after I was doing readings. But yeah, I started out with cards, and then I realized cards really wasn't for me. So that's when I started doing, I call it intuitive readings, because what I was getting. My clairvoyance is my strong suit. I'll actually see, and remote viewing is probably my strength. Wow. Because I can actually see events that are taking place. I can describe the person that I can see. And these can be people that are like, they're 2,000 miles away from me. They're in different countries, and I'm able to see what's going on, describe it to them. I really like that part of it. I don't like any clues at all. I first started out doing chats with people because I didn't want to even hear their voice. I just wanted to be able to read their energy. And it would be amazing because they'd be like, how can you see these things? We're just on a chat together, and like, I'm reading your energy, and I'm able to retrieve that and to retrieve what's going on, and to see into the future of events based on right now. Then I started going on to doing phone. But the reason I like that, and the reason why I don't like to do in person, is because I can't read your body language. I can't see the way you react when I say a certain thing. There's really no guessing here. I can't make the stuff up that I'm getting. Like, if I have a loved one of yours come through, I can't make that up. I can't tell you about, trust funds or wills and things that I have no idea of knowing without that person particularly telling me this.
Well, I will tell you something. If you ever told me that you were getting a family member from my side that had anything like trust funds or hedge funds or stocks or portfolios, I'd say, sweetie, you've got the wrong family for sure.
Exactly. But you never know what comes through. I mean, it's quite amazing. There's healing that comes through. There's people that are just, they've had abusive family life. And when people pass, it's like they start to actually see things differently, and they can really go back and they'll tell me what they did, and they'll tell me what they did wrong. And I can sit there and explain that to the person I'm speaking with, and they can kind of get that closing that they need, that closure that they need.
So let me ask you this. How do you deal with all the cross emotions that you're subjected to each and every day?
I have to do a lot of clearing every single day, and I do that just alone for my family, because I don't want to bring anything in. Sometimes I can be doing a reading, and then like a glass will move on the side, or something odd like that will happen. So I do have to make sure that I'm constantly clearing myself. I also do healing on myself as well, so I can just. It's really, really important for me to be a clear channel. It's like I have to be responsible with my vessel. That means like I don't smoke, I don't drink. I have to be mindful of what I eat, not eat an abundance of bad foods before I do a reading. It's really it's a whole process. It's not just the time I spend with a client. It's the time I take outside of the client that makes the reading, a clear message.
Do you use any tools of divination when you're doing your readings?
No, I used to do, like, for a new client, I might use like some oracle cards, but that's mostly just a prop for me. It's just something that I sit there and toil with. Really what I get is when I start talking to somebody, as soon as I start speaking with them, their spirit guides will come in, or whoever feels like talking to me, and they'll start telling me what I need to see and what I need to talk to them about.
What was it like the first time that you were actually communicating with the spirit from the other side, an entity that had once been a living soul on this side who has now crossed into the next dimension or to the next reality or the next vibrational existence? What did it feel like?
This all started happening just really methodically when I started coming out of the closet doing readings. The first thing that they are instructing me to do, my guides, I had a guide come in, and it was actually a Buddhist monk, and they were telling me I needed to get training for healing. So I went and I became a Reiki master. Then the next step, I started, I had this woman, and she was my gatekeeper. And a gatekeeper is what us mediums will use to communicate with those who've passed. So she came to me. And then the very next day, right after my gatekeeper, I didn't really understand who a gatekeeper was. She was standing in front of a gate, but then I finally was able to research the information to see what that was. But the very first communication happened to be my stepfather had passed away within that month. And as soon as I received an email, I didn't even read it. And I was just like, okay, this person had died of a massive heart attack. And sure enough, that's exactly what it said in the email.
Oh, wow.
So the next couple of nights, my stepfather had come to me, and we hadn't seen each other for 4 years. And he was telling me he wanted me to contact his new wife. And he even gave me her phone number. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I was shaking to death. I was like, this woman hates me. I'm going to call her. And, but it was amazing to give somebody the phone number to reach the person. And as soon as I called, and, she picked up right away, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because he knew that she would pick up. And it's amazing. They just sit there and tell you, this is what they're going through. I'm worried about them. I want you to let them know I'm okay. This is, and he, even showed me who he had passed with, and she was able to validate that for me. It was his father had actually passed away on my birthday that year, and I had no idea. So it was all a very interesting validation for me. It was like, that was my very first. I mean, I had that happen when I was a child. I know when people had passed, and I didn't pay a lot of attention. I didn't know it was mediumship, that I was doing at the time. But this was really an awakening moment. I was like, okay, wait a second. You can get this much detail to get a phone number and to get events that are going on in that person's life that you have no idea of knowing. That was amazing. I guess I needed that personal experience
Mm-hmm.
to be my first experience in order to really understand how my readings are with other people.
Why do you think your ability, your gift, is so dead on and so varied right across the spectrum? Like, you're a very talented and in tuned psychic, remote viewer, medium. I've been doing this show for 26 years, and you are the very first medium who's come on who said that I have been given a telephone number by someone on the other side. I called and got the person that the spirit asked me to connect with.
Yes. That, I can't accredit this to myself. I accredit to the spirit team that I work with. I mean, I'm only able to do it through them. That's just it's a demonstration how close that veil is and how close the dimensions really are. And it's very amazing. I mean, I can have we have weird events happen in our house all the time because of this, because spirits know that we see things, and we'll have things print out on our printer. It's very odd, but it lets you know that it doesn't just stop here. It's matter. It just changes form. It's never created nor destroyed. It just changes form. And even though someone passes,
Whoops.
they still do exist.
All right, you and I have to take our commercial break. We'll be right
Okay.
back. Exo Nation, don't go away. This is a fascinating story, and we'll be back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back, everyone. My goodness, this young lady that we're speaking to today gave me goosebumps in the last segment. Her name is Meilena Hauslendale. There we go. She is in Oregon, Portland, Oregon. And I have to just go back because you said something where you get messages printed out on your printer, and when you said that, man, I got the goosebumps.
Yeah, so we lived in Kentucky at one point, and we were talking about moving. My husband and I were sitting there talking, and we had our printer off and everything like that. We were just sitting there in our offices, and all of a sudden something starts printing out, and what printed out was your work here is not done. And we're like, okay, we don't even have that. We didn't even have the font that it was in on our computer, and both of our computers were shut down. We had no idea how this printed out, but we weren't supposed to leave there yet. And the reason being that we found out later on is that my husband's grandmother actually was getting ready to pass. So there's a couple chain of events that had to happen, and we weren't supposed to leave yet. But it's amazing just how spirit messages can come through like that. And then probably the most recent one that we had is we're out of ink on our printer. We don't have any color ink in there, and there was a picture printed out of our staircase. So that means that somebody had to take a picture of our staircase and actually print it out. We have no idea how that would even happen, because you have to sit there and press our printer 3 times the buttons to get it to actually print something. So we're like, okay. But, that just, it goes to tell you, again, that people can communicate to you, spirits can communicate to you, and even people that aren't related to you, just happens to be the spirits around your house at the time, that they will find some way to communicate.
Do you get a lot of guests over to your house for dinner?
No, we do not.
A lot of sleepovers?
No, not at all.
Well, what do your 4 sons say about what goes on?
To them, it's normal because we've made it normal. I mean, this is something that always occurs. So we talk about it. It's nothing to be fearful of. So we place that on our children too. It's nothing to be scared of. It's just communication, and this is how people do it. So it's a very normal thing. When something like that happens, nobody freaks out about it or, is running scared or anything. We just validate it. We unplugged our printer, but I was like, I don't know if I wanted more messages like those pictures. That's pretty intense. But yeah, that's just it's an amazing thing.
Wow. Why do you think this happens? Like printers going off with no ink in them, or like the printer's off, turns on, prints in a font that you don't have.
Yeah.
Do you try to get any scientific sense of what is going on, or how to explain it rationally?
We always try to debunk things first. That's the first thing. You try to make sure, like, how can this happen? Who could have done this? You go around checking devices, seeing if there's a picture of the stairs and what angle did they take this? I mean, we do really take a scientific approach to try to prove it wrong. But why do people do this? Like spirit guides, like sometimes if you're not listening, like if I was not listening clairvoyantly, like when we were talking about making a move,
yeah,
they had to go to the extreme of actually printing this out. So that's pretty amazing to me. It's like, hey, no, wait, stop. It's not time to move yet. So we had to, that totally changed our course. So we just both were like out loud, all right, we hear you. We're not going to move yet. We're going to just move locally. And that's what we did. So it's something, sometimes everybody needs a wake up call. And for us, it's like our spirit guides really know how to communicate to us in certain times.
What has been your most awe-inspiring moment since you become professional at what you do?
Oh, I think I really feel like it's a privilege. It's a privilege to me every time I get the opportunity to read for somebody, and every time that they're able to sit there and say, that's exactly what someone just told me, and I'm on the right path. That's very inspiring. It inspires me on a daily basis. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's I'm able to give them a message that they needed, that they just couldn't hear themselves. And I also encourage, like a lot of my clients too, I encourage them to develop their own gifts. It's not, I don't want someone to always feel like they have to go to a psychic medium in order to connect to themselves.
Yeah.
I want people to understand that they can connect to themselves anytime they choose to and decide to. Once they get on that wavelength and they start to align themselves with that vibration, they can start doing it in an automated process. They might not have, get to the level that they want to do readings for people, but to be able to hear that for yourself, to get directions, in your life, that's so priceless to me. So that's really inspiring all the time. Every time I'm able to help somebody, it's very inspiring for me.
Has it ever happened to you that one of the people who come to you turns it into a habit, and you find out that this person is just expecting too much, and that they're draining you?
Yeah, there are some, we call them like psychic vampires, you could say. That is why I do not charge a cheap price. people may think that's crazy, but I do that for a reason. I don't want someone coming to me every day asking me how to live their life. That's not my job.
Yeah.
That's their job. And I want to teach them how to be independent. It's great to get check-ins. It's like, you might use me for a few minutes. You might use me for 30 minutes. But like, when someone starts to develop a habit, and I'm really careful with telling people, you know what, you just had a reading. I don't have any problem with turning somebody down if I feel like they're abusing readings, because it's just not something that, you don't want to create any psychic addictions. I want
That's
to
right,
create,
yeah.
I don't want them to be reliant on me. I want them to learn how to listen to themselves.
What have you been told about the other side?
For me, it's really just, it's different wavelengths, it's different vibrations. And that's, you have your lower vibrations and you have your higher vibrations. Your lower vibrations is where you have some of the negative entities and negative spirits. And that's really where people that are in a negative space can remain if they choose to, if they haven't passed and chose to move on. And then you have your higher vibrations, where you have people that are spiritual teachers that move on very quickly and just can really jump right back into different modes. So that's what's it's very interesting how that kind of meshes, and how, people always ask me, like, aren't you afraid of something negative coming through? And it's like, no, if you're in a negative state, you can have negative stuff come through. But if you're coming from a higher place in yourself, you're only going to have positive, and you're going to be protected by that.
Is there anything that a person should do when they are going to visit a psychic? How should they prepare for the visits? How should they prepare in order to get the very best reading that they can?
I always ask people to talk to the spirit that they want to come through. It's interesting. There's a spirit hierarchy. When you come to a reading, it's like, you can't guarantee someone that your grandfather is going to come through. You can't guarantee that their grandmother is going to come through.
Mm-hmm.
It's whoever needs to speak to you first. So, and for different mediums, they might have different techniques, but that's just how it works for me. It's like, if you have an issue with somebody, I'll give you an example. I had a client that had an issue with their father, and that's the person that showed up. And she's like, I described them to them, and I told them, this is what they looked like, this is what they did, this is how they passed, because I like to provide that information for them when they first come to me. I don't want them to tell me what they look like. I don't want them to tell me how they passed. I want that spirit to tell me, because I want to prove to you that that's who that I'm talking with. So when that happens, some people are like, they shut down the reading right away. No, that's my father, and I don't want to talk to him. And then no other spirits will step forward. So sometimes that's how it works.
That's a little arrogant of them, isn't it?
Pardon me?
That's a little arrogant and being disrespectful to the spirits.
Yeah, and then, sometimes people aren't ready for the message that they're going to receive. And I have to honor that. I do have
I guess, yeah.
a really high ground of ethics with that. If somebody's not ready for the message, then I won't deliver it for them. That's fine.
Have you ever had a person who wanted to communicate with a spirit, and you are able to connect with that spirit, and that spirit says, hey, I don't want to talk to them?
No, I've never had that happen. Usually as soon as I start making connection, it happens really quickly, and the information comes in very quickly. I might get sounds. I might get like a nickname that they used to call that person, or it just starts coming in. They'll start showing me pictures, showing me like what they bought this person. It's pretty amazing once you start to actually get a connection. Again, all that information is just infused in you basically, and you have to talk very quickly. So that's just how it transmutes to you.
Oh, wow. So what's it like when you're doing a communicating session to the other side, and the spirit on the other side is a child? You're a mom, you have 4 sons. How do you deal with that emotion?
Yeah, that's really definitely. I've had a couple of children come through, and it's very emotional for me what they're showing. It's interesting because they come to you, even though they have like some childlike behaviors to them, they are so advanced in their spirit form that they're able to communicate to the parent, thank you for giving me this life. My life, my contract that I had here on earth was short, and you helped me advance to this next level. And it kind of explains the reason behind this, and explains the emotions and the lesson that they were sent here to give those people.
How do we rationalize with people the philosophy of religion and the talents of a psychic?
That's the big question. I mean, we've been having psychic experiences and occurrences and phenomena since, before Christ, and, back in Plato and Socrates and Aristotle. I mean, everybody's been mentioning this over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there's certain people that have religious labels that want to deny these parts of ourselves. And really, if you really look at it, it's like, Jesus was a medium.
Exactly.
So how can we sit there and denounce the gifts that we are given?
But you see, you're looking at it with open eyes and an open heart.
Yes.
And this is the big problem we have today with religion, and this is why I believe, and this is just my personal belief, that the religious philosophical arena is in such a disarray is because people are not opening up their eyes and their hearts anymore.
Yes. It's a suppression. And again, it's just like when you start to suppress your gifts over and over again, you start to not listen. You start to have, it starts to become inactive. There's philosophies that, your psychic gifts they stem from your pineal gland that's behind your neck, and then, resonating with your third eye. And it's like that pineal gland actually calcifies over time, and you start to not use it. It's just like a muscle. If I didn't use my skills every single day, then they wouldn't be as strong.
Meilena, please stand by. You and I have to take our final break for this hour. X Zone Nation, Meilena Hauslendale is our special guest, www.livingonintuition.com, and we'll both be back as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365. Just a reminder, everyone, the current edition of the X Chronicles newspaper is now available for one and all. And if you're a member of a paranormal group, if you're a paranormal investigator, if you're a member of a UFO team, or anyone who deals in the paranormal or the parapsychology, we have a special pricing there for you. Instead of the $2.99, all you do is you pay $1.99, 92 full-color pages. And that's at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com. Meilena, we've been talking about a lot of things in this past hour, and I'd like to thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdoms and your gifts with us. But what do you see for the future? What do you see for the future of the world that we live in?
I see people starting to kind of come together. I feel like there's an awakening point. I feel like this started happening like last year. People started to people that do have gifts are awakening, and we're helping other people raise their vibration. So I see that happening. It's going to be more prominent. And the thing that separates us being religion, I don't see religion fading away or anything like that, but I do see us starting to find the commonalities, realizing that all of us are a part of one another, and that when we bring somebody up, even if it is from a different denomination, we're bringing the whole up, and we're going to start to have more of a focus on the whole instead of the individual.
What about all the strife in the world today? We have North Korea, we have what's going on in the Middle East, we have the terrorism that seems to be spreading worldwide.
Well, the amazing thing is when you have good, you're going to have evil. That's always going to be a battle. It's just now we're being called to take action to ourselves, and we're being called in a different way. And that I feel that getting people into, like for myself personally, it's just time of raising people's vibrations, raising their awareness, and doing it on a way that they feel comfortable. Like I deal with all different religions, all different denominations, different cultures, and helping them all at the same time. That's what overpowers the evil. That's what overpowers, when we sit there and we ingest news over and over and over again, we get ourselves in a lower state vibration. It's good to be aware. I'm always for being aware of things, but repetitive ingestion of just like that negativity, it's going to change your own vibrations and make you feel like there's no hope, make you feel that something is overpowering you. Take a step back from that after you watch that, take a step back and try to ingest things that are positive to keep yourself up, to keep that uplifted spirit that you need.
What do you suggest people do if they'd like to develop their own psychic ability?
I always suggest see what you feel drawn to. That was mainly what I did. Your guides are going to have a certain course of action. Sometimes we're trained in our dreams. If you have trouble expressing yourself on the physical plane, usually what'll happen is your guides will speak to you in your dreams and kind of show you different things. I remember before I was going to college, again, I didn't believe in psychics. And I had a dream about visiting a psychic. I saw the exact person. I saw the woman, and she was going to help me. And then the next day I had one of my colleagues tell me, hey, there's a psychic fair. And I was like, they're asking me if I want to go. So I went. And I saw that lady there. I saw the psychic out of a whole room of people. And here's this woman I saw in my dreams. So, I went to her, and the first thing she said, she was like, you're pretty psychic yourself. And I was like, I'm not going to let this lady know anything about me, because I was very apprehensive about it. But and I forgot your original question. But
no, my question was how can people develop their own psychic powers?
Pay attention to your intuition. You're going to get messages. Once you're sitting there and you ask for messages, and do this, you can do this through prayer, you can do this through meditation, whatever you feel comfortable with doing. Start taking maybe 5 minutes a day if you can to just try to connect. Try to connect to your higher self and ask what you're supposed to do. You're going to start to get messages. They're going to start to come in. And they could come in signs of actual signs, pages that you turn to in a book. You'll start to get repetitive messages over and over. When I started going into healing, I kept seeing the word clear channel. It came to me in books. It came to me in articles. It came to me at my job place. It was ridiculous. But that's because I was supposed to start with healing first before I started working as a psychic medium.
You've mentioned your spirit guides. How do you know who your spirit guides are?
Let's see. The first one, I didn't know. I couldn't understand who these people were that were coming to me. It was really confusing. I was like, oh, is this a spirit or whatnot? But as I started to do some more research on it, like, they would give me names, and sometimes this would happen over a span of like maybe 3 years. Like my healing guy that came in happened the year before I came out as a psychic. So it was then I got their name. So I got their name is Master Chi Hong, for example, for my healing guide, and that's a Buddhist monk that I would see. The person came to me. They have a very bright, vibrant orange robe on. The next person that I would meet would be my gatekeeper, and that's the gatekeeper to the spirit world. That would be the guy that works with me. And once you meet them, you don't see them all the time after that point. You just know the essence. And when you see them, you kind of know, like, if I'm doing a reading with somebody and I happen to see my healing guide, then I know that I'm going to be channeling healing for that person as well as doing a reading. Or if I see my gatekeeper, then I know a spirit's coming through. And it works differently for different people too.
Many psychics say that they can tap into the Akashic records.
Yes.
How do you do that?
You have to have the person's permission to do that. For myself, especially having a past life, my husband and I have had a past life together. So we actually returned to our prior names that we had in our lifetime before. And it wasn't until we were married, probably about the 4th or 5th year, that we received those names. But yeah, the Akashic Records is something that you can tap into for yourself. If you're a reader, you can do it for other people if you have their direct permission.
And where are the Akashic Records?
There's a different vibration. It's a different level. It's kind of like you have different levels. Like you have levels of doing angel readings with people, and then you have levels of doing Akashic Records. And the Akashic Records is just like this huge. I would love to. It's like this huge library in the spirit world where everything is recorded, and you're able to actually go in and pinpoint those things and pinpoint those different past lives with people. It helps them understand, when you're doing those readings for people, it helps them understand some of the issues that they brought over with them in this lifetime and help them resolve that issue so that they're able to, it could be like a phobia that you have. It could be some type of repetitiveness, or it can even be like, there's also times too when you tap into somebody's Akashic Records that you help just validate some of the events that are going on in their lives right now, and it helps them realize the pattern so they don't repeat it.
Interesting. So interesting. And you also do angel readings as well.
Yes.
My goodness. I love angels. I believe in angels.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know they're there. I've seen an angel. So nobody would ever have any problems saying that angels are real. However, when they say angels aren't real, they're in for a bit of a fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what are your interpretation of angels? Who are they and what do they do?
Angels are definitely there for guidance. It's interesting. I don't see angels around everybody. I feel that certain people work with the angelic realm and certain people don't. I get a lot of readers that come to me. I have a lot of mediums that come to me, and healers and shamans that get guided towards me. And it's very interesting when they come in because they all have different guides. And there's certain people that work with the angelic realm in particular, like they might do angelic healing and do angel readings. And they are surrounded by usually 2 or 3 angels, sometimes just one guardian that's there with them. But it all depends who you work with. So it's just interesting that it's not the same for everybody when you have them come in.
Wow, it's been it's been quite a voyage for you, quite a trip for you and your family. And do you think that this life of ours is predestined?
We do have certain agreements, yes. I do feel that we enter into a contract before we become earthbound, and we make certain agreements that we're going to acquire. And like, you might have an agreement, say with your wife, that you're going to meet her at this particular time. That becomes a destiny point in your life. And no matter how long it takes you to get there, it's still going to happen. It's like you're destined to do certain things.
Wow. Listen, we've got about 30 seconds before we have to say so long with you, but what are your final thoughts for the listening audience tonight?
I just hope that I encourage people to really follow their own intuition and to really start exploring it, to give some validation to people that are having questions, and to keep asking questions and keep finding answers.
I believe love is the answer.
Absolutely.
Meilena, thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, I look forward to the next time you and I meet here in the X Zone. Please give my best to your husband, your sons, and X Zone Nation. If you'd like more information about Meilena, if you'd like to book a one-on-one consultation with her, her website is www.livingonintuition.com. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center. Well, that was a little loud, Craig, but thank you so much for blowing my eardrums out. We'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. We'll be back. Don't go away.